What's up, guys? Brody here, Squids Pressure Washing LLC, Kansas City's highest rated exterior cleaning company, and a veteran-owned business. Let me set these down. You guys may be asking yourself, why are you not in your typical white t-shirt, squids on it? Because I actually got to take a day off to go over all my notes and stuff from a huge convention. More notes and other stuff from Mastermind in Atlanta, and I needed a day to decompress. Although now that I'm, decompressing just cost me a little over $400 a month between Jill's office, an answering service, Broadly, a review capture service, and what in the heck was the other one? Why can't I remember? Let me tell you guys here, and then we'll get going. I don't want to waste your time. Do they save your live videos? Can you guys watch these later? I hope so. Broadly, Jill's office. There's another one. They're calling me to do the demo, but between all of them, it's like $400 a month. But that's one house wash, essentially. So if it nets 5, 10, 15 other house washes, that would be ideal. But today, we're going to be talking a little bit about unloaders. On the forum, the Pressure Washing Resource Association forum, there are questions all the time about unloaders. Which one do I need? What do they do? How do I hook it up? And what's the other one? Are internal unloaders any good? So a lot of what I'm going to tell you is opinion at best, but I will say that internal unloaders are not my favorite, because if they're internal, where does all the hot water go? Because your pump builds up heat. And if you're just cycling that back through, maybe I don't understand how an internal unloader works. But dogmatically, I would never own a pump with an internal unloader, because I do know there is something out there that works, and that's called a pressure unloader or a flow unloader. This is a K7. This is a general pump. These happen to be my favorite. This is a general pump, 2124. I don't have an unloader block with me, but we're going to chat a little bit about unloader blocks too. Anyway, so let's take the name. Let's take unloader. What do we think this does? An unloader, what it does, when you lay off the trigger, which means there's no water coming out of the gun or the end of the hose, it's got to build up somewhere. It's trapped between the pump and the gun, and pumps get hot. So what happens to that heat? What happens to all that pressure? We just leave it in the pump? No, you use an unloader to unload the pressure and the heat. So it pushes, and the way this one works, backwards here. The way this one works, water goes in from the pump, and it's conveniently labeled in, and then water comes out, conveniently labeled out, to the reel or the hose or the gun or all three. Now, this little guy right here is usually set up for bypass. And what bypassing the water is shipping it off to a tank. So if you've got a buffer tank, if you don't have a buffer tank, it just ships it off onto the ground or wherever, but you might as well recycle that water. So you can set this up with a brass barb, recycle it back to the tank. So you're always putting cool, fresh water into the pump, because when it unloads, so it fills up, pressure builds up in here, it unloads, Let's say it unloads 5 ounces of water. That's probably a really low estimate, but let's say it unloads 5 ounces of water. 5 ounces of water come back in. So cool fresh water, hot muggy water, back to the tank. Okay. Now the flow unloader works the same way. This is a K7, and the only difference is, well, no real difference on those. They both say in and out. I just saw it. But anyway, so in, your pressure hose goes in from the pump, out goes to your reel, your hose, or your gun. Then we got the bypass. Same thing. You can hook up a barb, you can hook up a hose, however you need to get it back to the tank or on the ground, which is really silly. Recycle water, send it back to the tank. But this being a flow unloader has a couple different advantages over the pressure unloader, but I still prefer the pressure unloader. So pressure unloader, there's a kick, and you can actually watch it unload. So let's say you set your gun, your hose down on the ground, you're walking back to the tank to switch from soap to water to flush your injector. The time in between, watch your hose. You'll actually watch the hose shake because it's unloading back to the tank. And you can feel it if you've got the gun in your hand. It'll go, it's unloaded. Okay, it's bypassed back to the tank. With these, when you let off the trigger, if you just caveman it, you go, there's, what am I trying to say? There's a jerk at the gun. There's a water hammer, not a water hammer because it's not hitting anything. But anyway, it's not a soft start. If you caveman the trigger, it's not a soft start. There's a jerk, okay, with the pressure unloader. And these, however, so not but we'll go back to this. This K7 is a flow unloader, which just senses a change in flow, reduction in flow. And these, which I have not used yet, and I'll tell you why, these don't have the same kick. There's no kickback. If you watch your hose, apparently there's no when it unloads. So if you're doing a lot of high pressure work and you're not doing a bunch of downstreaming, or you're surface cleaning, you pre-treat with a pump sprayer or post-treat with a pump sprayer, you use an X-Jet all the time, you're just using your pressure gun to rinse, and your 12 volt or your roof pump to apply soap. This is awesome. There's no kickback. It still unloads. It keeps the hot water and the pressure off of your pump. So it's a good choice. The downfall with this is if you're downstreaming a lot, we run 225-foot hoses off the reels. If you're downstreaming a lot, this is pretty finicky. Sometimes you'll turn on soap and soap will work. Sometimes it won't. And I'm not quite sure why that happens. So if you guys know, please leave a comment. If you think you know, don't leave a comment. But if you know the ins and outs of it, and you know, please leave a comment and explain why these are so finicky while downstreaming on long lengths of hose. Because I just don't know. All I know is the general consensus is they are finicky when you downstream on long lengths of hose, which is why I haven't tried this. So like I mentioned before, between the internal unloader and a flow unloader, I don't take chances because if it's not broke, don't fix it. So the kick that I get from these is not as big of a concern as not being able to downstream soap at long distances. If it's a concern for you, downstreaming soap from long distances, long hoses, stick with the pressure unloader. They're tried and true. And again, if it's not broke, don't fix it. What else do I want to say? If you guys have any questions, leave them below. We can chat a little bit more about unloaders, but I wanted to answer these questions because I know there are some from time to time on the forum, and explain the differences between this. This is a pressure unloader. So when the pressure builds up to a certain point, it unloads. Flow unloader, when there's a reduction in flow, it unloads. Not great for downstreaming. Great if you're using your pressure washer only for water. You're not worried about soaping anything. Awesome if you're downstreaming on long lengths of hose. But that's what an unloader does. The unloader block. I don't want to take too much longer. The unloader block is a fancy little guy that it gets hooked to the bottom typically, and then this is your in, right? So you hook to your unloader block. Yep. And then the unloader block has a 90-degree hole that you're in from the pump. The unloader block, the good thing about this is the unloader block takes it off of your pump. So if you don't have an unloader block, you gotta screw this thing onto your pump somehow. And now when it unloads, that vibration is on your pump, right? The vibration is bad news bears for a pump. You want to keep as much stuff off the pump as possible. Same with all those guys that are putting pressure gauges on their pump. Unnecessary, fellas. Just another thing to go and vibrate your pump. But same thing here. If you don't have an unloader block, these you can mount any which way to Sunday. You can lay it on the ground. Doesn't matter how you mount this. The trailer that we built for that gentleman in Alabama, we just used the pipe clamps and mounted it to the wall this way. So it's set up there. This just has to have a hose off the pump and a hose to your reels for your hose and your gun. But this can lay anywhere because there's no. I hope that makes sense. Now, if you mount this to your pump, though, this K7 is a lot heavier than this one. So if you mount it to the pump, you still got a lot of weight hanging off the pump. So if you guys check out pressuretech.com, TEK is how tech is spelled. Unloader blocks are $20. $20 and you got to drill 2 holes. So if you're going to mount any unloader, pressure block's probably not a bad idea. So hopefully that's helpful. This is my first test doing YouTube Live. So hopefully it saves this video for anybody else that has, unloader questions. But thanks for watching.